Welcome to the MasterMind Library. Welcome again to the MasterMind Library. I'm representing Hampton Roads Hurricanes today. My children, they've been doing great things, and all the children, part of the program, the track and field club, doing a great thing here in Hampton Roads. Really proud of all of y'all. I am Ferdinand, the bringer of balance, leader of many disciplines, and your host of the MasterMind Library. And we've been reading from the myths from Mesopotamia, but the book that we are focusing on, the epic, the clay tablet that we're focused on, is the Enuma Elish. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move to tablet 6. And again, those players that we've been talking about in this epic are Tiamat, Kingu, Nudamad, Marduk. We're talking about the Anunnaki. That's tablet 7. Let's go to tablet 6. All right, there we go, right there. Oh, before we move forward, I gotta show y'all. So this is 20 years since I graduated basic training. Here goes the hoodie that I got when I graduated basic training. We got our names and everything on it, right? 20 years later. 2004 was when we graduated, right? And I can still fit this. Let me try this on before I start reading. I haven't worn it for a while. Oh yeah. Wow. I must have lost weight since back then. Yeah. I don't know. I guess it was a little baggy back then, but yeah. 20 years later. All right. So I'm gonna bring this 20-year energy in today, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right. So let's go with boom. Let's do that. Tablet 6. When Marduk heard the speech of the gods, he made up his mind to perform miracles. He spoke his utterance to Ea and communicated to him the plan that he was considering. Let me put blood together and make bones too. Let me set up from primeval man. Man shall be his name. Let me create a primeval man. The work of the gods shall be imposed on him, and so they shall be at leisure. Let me change the ways of the gods miraculously, so they are gathered as one, yet divided in two. Ea answered him and spoke a word to him, told him his plan for the leisure of the gods. Let one who is hostile to them be surrendered up. Let him be destroyed, and let people be created from him. Let the great gods assemble, let the culprit be given up, and let them convict him. Marduk assembled the great gods, gave them instructions pleasantly, gave orders. The gods paid attention to what he said. The king addressed his words to the Anunnaki. Your election of me shall be firm and foremost. I shall declare the laws, the edicts within my power. Whosoever started the war and incited Tiamat and gathered an army, let the one who started the war be given up to me, and he shall bear the penalty for his crime, that you may dwell in peace. The Igigi, the great gods, answered him, their lord Lugal, Dimmer, and Kia, counselor of gods. It was Kingu who started the war. He who incited Tiamat and gathered an army. They bound him and held him in front of Ea, imposed the penalty on him, and cut off his blood. He created mankind from his blood, imposed the toil of the gods on man, and released the gods from it. When Ea, the wise, had created mankind, had imposed the toil of the gods on them, that deed is impossible to describe. For Nudamad performed it with the miracles of Marduk. Then Marduk the king divided the gods, the Anunnaki, all of them, above and below. He assigned his decrees to Anu to guard, established 300 as a guard in the sky, did the same again when he designed the conventions of earth, and made the 600 dwell in both heaven and earth. When he had directed all the decrees, had divided lots for the Anunnaki of earth and of heaven and of earth. The Anunnaki made their voices heard and addressed Marduk their lord. Now, O Lord, that you have set us free, what are our favors from you? We would like to make a shrine with its own name. We would like our night's resting place to be in your private quarters and to rest there. Let us found a shrine, a sanctuary there. Whenever we arrive, let us rest within it. When Marduk heard this, his face lit up greatly like daylight. Create Babylon, whose construction you requested. Let its mud bricks be molded, and build high the shrine. The Anunnaki began shoveling. For a whole year, they made bricks for it. When the second year arrived, they had raised the top of Isagila in front of the Absu. They had built a high ziggurat for the Absu. They founded a dwelling for Anu, Elil, and Ea likewise. In ascendancy, he settled himself in front of them, and his horns looked down at the base of Ishara when they had done the work of Isagila. And the Anunnaki, all of them, had fashioned their individual shrines. The 300 Igigi of heaven and the Anunnaki of the Abzu all assembled. The Lord invited the gods, his fathers, to attend a banquet in the great sanctuary which he had created as his dwelling. Indeed, Babili, your home too. Sing for joy there. Dwell in happiness. The great gods sat down there and set out the beer mugs. They attended the banquet. When they had made merry within, they themselves made a tagribtu offering in splendid Isagila. All the decrees and designs were fixed. All the gods divided the stations of heaven and earth. The 50 great gods were present, and the gods fixed the 7 destinies for the cult. The Lord received the bow and set his weapon down in front of them. The gods, his fathers, looked at the net which he had made, looked at the bow, how miraculous her construction, and his fathers praised the deeds that he had done. Anu raised the bow and spoke in the assembly of the gods. He kissed the bow. May she go far. He gave the bow her name, saying, may long and far be the first, and victorious the second. Her third name shall be Bowstar, for she shall shine in the sky. He fixed her position among the gods, her companions. When Anu had decreed the destiny of the bow, he set down her royal throne. You are highest of the gods. And Anu made her sit in the assembly of the gods. The great gods assembled and made Marduk's destiny highest. They themselves did obeisance. They swore an oath for themselves and swore on water and oil, touched their throats. Thus they granted that he should exercise the kingship of the gods, and confirmed for him mastery of the gods of heaven and earth. Anshar shall give him another name, Asarluhi. At the mention of his name we shall bow down. The gods are to pay heed to what he says. His command is to have priority above and below. The son who avenged us shall be the highest. His rule shall have priority. Let him have no rival. Let him act, let him act as shepherd over the black-headed people, his creation. Let his way be proclaimed in future days, never forgotten. He shall establish great Nindabu offerings for his fathers. He shall take care of them. He shall look after their shrines. He shall let them smell the Kutrinu offering and make their chant joyful. Let them breathe on earth as freely as he always does in heaven. Let them designate the black-headed people to revere him, that mankind may be mindful of him and name him as their God. Let their interceding goddess pay attention when he opens his mouth. Let Ninjabu offerings be brought to their God and their goddess. Let them never be forgotten. Let them cleave to their God. Let them keep their country preeminent and always build shrines. Though the black-headed people share out the gods, as for us, no matter by which name we call him, he shall be our God. Come, let us call him by his 50 names. His ways shall be proclaimed, and his deeds likewise. Marduk, whose father, Anu, designated him at the moment of his birth to be in charge of pasturage and watering places to enrich their stalls, who overwhelmed the ritorous, ritus ones with his flood weapon, and saved the gods his fathers from hardship. Let the sun, majesty of the gods, be his name. In his bright light may they walk forevermore. The people whom he created, the form of life that breathes. He imposed the work of the gods on them so that they might rest. Creation and abolition, forgiveness and punishment, such are at his disposal. So let them look to him. Maruka, he is the God who created them. He pleases the Anunnaki and gives rest to the Ijiji. Marutuku, he is the help of country, city, and his people. He shall the people Him shall the people revere forever. Mershakushu, fierce yet considerate, furious yet merciful. Generous is his heart, controlled are his emotions. Lugal Dimmer Ankia, his name which we give him in our assembly. We made his command higher than the gods his fathers. He is indeed Baal of the gods of heaven and earth, all of them. The king at whose instruction the gods are awed above and below. Nari Lugal Dimmer Ankia is a name that we have given him as director of all the gods, who founded our dwellings in heaven and earth out of difficulties, and who shared out the stations for the Ajiji and Anunnaki. At his names may the gods tremble and quake in their dwellings. Asar Luhi is his name which his father Anu gave him. He shall be the light of the gods, strong leader, who, like his name, is the protecting spirit of God and country. He spared our dwellings in the great battle despite difficulties. Second, they gave him as Sarluhi, as Namtila, the god who gives life, who restored all the damaged gods as if they were his own creation. Bel, who revives dead gods with his pure incantation, who destroys those who oppose him, but the enemy. Asarluhi, third, as Namru, whose name was given, thus, the pure God who purifies our path. Anshar, Lamu, and Lahamu called his 3 names. They pronounced them to the gods, their sons. We have given him each of these 3 names. Now you pronounce his names as we did. The gods rejoiced and obeyed their command. In Ubshu, Ukanaka, they deliberated their counsel. Let us elevate the name of the sun, the warrior, our champion who looks after us. They sat in their assembly and began to call out the destinies, pronounced his name in all their rights. Asar, bestower of plowland, who fixes its boundaries. And that concludes tablet 6. And we'll come back tomorrow at 8 a.m. for tablet 7. And I want to give some clarity to the 20-year anniversary of me completing basic training for the United States Army. Man, 20 years ago, Fort Seal, Fort Seal, Oklahoma. Oh man, that was a journey. All male basic training. It was probably like 64 people in the bay. Oh man, I remember some wild days, man. I remember digging a hole on a field training exercise and sleeping in that hole for like, I don't know, 3-4 days, a week or something like that. This is quite a while to go without having a shower. But we learned a lot, we learned a lot. I remember the gas chamber. Oh man, the photographer who was there capturing pictures for the Fort Seal yearbook. They got some pictures of me with the drool coming down because the gas chamber is kind of serious when you take that mask off. But yeah, that was a different time. That was a good time in my life. I graduated with honor. I was real proud of that. I was one of 12 out of hundreds who graduated with honor from the company, battalion, or I don't know, whatever it was for the graduation. But I was one of 12. I was pretty good at like the land navigation and PT. I was pretty good at that. The Commontash training. I was surprised that I did well at that stuff, learning how to evaluate a casualty and, all the other things that you had to do. The weapons training, expert marksman, like that Army stuff was, certain parts of it was fun. There was some days that was a little rough, but I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have come out on the other side. 3 combat deployments, 2 in Iraq, 1 in Guantanamo Bay. I served for the Wire magazine in Cuba, and I was one of the primary people for the media team who was in the camps with the detainees. So that was its own journey. Being out there, beautiful area out there, Cuba, Guantanamo Bay. I'm pretty sure people who get that, Navy people who get that assignment, they probably love it. There's some nice beaches out there. But yeah, I learned a lot during that journey and, came out on the other side. I got to shoot prime ministers. I've got to photograph presidents. I've got to photograph and shot video, live video of the current sitting president while in Iraq. It was our assignment. Myself and he was he was either private or specialist Christian Young back then. We were charged. I was the NCO in charge. We were charged to shoot a naturalization ceremony at the palace, the general's palace on Camp Victory in Baghdad. This was roughly 15 years ago. And it was an amazing assignment. President Biden, he was vice president then, and he was the keynote speaker for the naturalization ceremony. And I was real honored to be the main media person for American Forces Network because I was able to be present for a naturalization ceremony for a bunch of service members who had served in combat multiple times, and they weren't even American citizens, and so President Biden was the guy, and there was a bunch of other media there, so it was pretty cool. The dining facility had a great spread. Oh man, their smoothie bar was amazing that day. They made sure they did it up real nice, so it was cool. After it was over, we had to beat feet over to the media shop on Camp Victory to put out the other products like the photos and all that stuff. So it was a busy day. But man, I've got so many stories that are similar to that, like the um, the first Iraqi election. I was there. I got pictures and video of little children with purple fingers and all that kind of stuff. I shot reality shows in Philippines, and my military career has been filled with some amazing, amazing opportunities, educational opportunities, National Geographic. Like I've seen the highs and the lows of everything with my cameras. 1 second I'm shooting parties and stuff, and shooting on Capitol Hill, super important meetings with uh, senators and congressmen. And the next second I'm shooting Arlington Cemetery for National Geographic, and I'm hovering in a helicopter over the Capitol, over the National Mall. I'm shooting pictures from the top of the Lincoln Memorial and stuff like this is all part of my career. This is all part of my military career. I've seen a little bit of everything, and it kind of goes back to this sweater. 4th Platoon Raiders, 1st Battalion, 19th Field Artillery. This is all off the dome. I want y'all to realize this. I'm not reading off any cue cards. I wish I could turn the camera around so y'all can see. Right, 1st Battalion, 19th Field Artillery, 4th Platoon Raiders. And I was the PG. I was the platoon guide. I used to march the platoon. I led PT. I did all of that stuff. I was the guy in front for the whole 2, 3, 4, 5 mile run, whatever the drill sergeants wanted to do. I was that guy in basic training. I was the guy who led the training on hand to hand combat. I was literally the guy who had one of the best shooting scores. I think I hit like, I don't know, 30 something out of 40 or whatever. Like, yeah, like this is my military career is crazy. Like it's storybook. Like if somebody was listening to this right now, they should be thinking, yo, like this, I should make a movie about this guy. Real rap. Because as a combat photographer, as a public affairs practitioner, my journey in the military is very similar to, let's say, the Joker from Full Metal Jacket, but maybe not that intense. Like I wasn't in Fallujah. Make no mistake, we did get shot at. There was bombs going off on a regular basis that was shaking wherever we was at. I was literally in the triangle of death. I was in Mahmadiyah, Yusufia, and Lutafia. I was in Al Hila. I was in these very dangerous places. I just wasn't in the most dangerous places. Like I never went to Mosul. I never went to Fallujah. Um, those were some major hotspots, but I was in Baghdad, and there was like 10 to 20 bombs going off every single day the whole time I was there, and I lived there. So yeah, I got a lot of stories, man. Tyler Perry, if you're listening to this, bro, you might want to get in touch with me, B. Like, like I got endless stories that would make amazing TV shows and would make amazing movies. Spike Lee, you out there? Like somebody send him this video. Who else? Who else is out there? Kugler, send him the video. Like this story right here. It can be told, and I got a bunch of them. From the military, and then also from holistic health, that journey, also the journey of setting up corporate structure and all this. Each of these are movies than my childhood. A whole nother movie, like a whole nother movie. That's like a real adventure. Like we literally lived in Virginia. Excuse me, we lived in California. Then we lived in Virginia. Then we lived in California for a long time. Then we lived back in Virginia for a long time. So in each of those, one or two of them might be a plane ride, but the bulk of those are road trips all the way across country with a whole bunch of children, right? Before having GPS on your phone. And these cross country trips, there's no like there's no MapQuest. There's no MapQuest printouts. There's listen, you got to follow me, and if I get off the interstate, you got to get off the interstate. You got to stay right behind me, and almost losing a person along the way. Right? There's a few times that happens, and like I have great recall ability, like a photographic memory or whatever, right? So like I can pull out stuff, like I can tell you literally how to get to my house in Gilroy, California from here right now without looking at a map, without GPS or any of that. Like I can tell you all of that. I can tell you where I lived at in San Jose, California. I can tell you where I lived at in Fresno, California, and all these different places. Like I can tell you all the houses that I've lived at in the 757 since I've lived here. I can tell you the exact houses I lived at in Lancaster County. I can tell you where my homeboy lives at in I can tell you where my dad lives at in Baton Rouge, and all that. Like with the recall ability is crazy. I can pick stuff up real fast. So like, yeah, Tyler Perry, Spike Lee, Coogler, whoever else is out there. Hell, at the end of the day, Scorsese, hit me up, man. Who else can I think of that's been doing some super dope work? I mean, there's so many of y'all out there. Even y'all newcomers. Coming out of Full Sail, y'all newcomers coming out of NYU and coming out of VCU and the HBCUs and all the different universities and colleges and whatever. Like, hit me up. Like, I got one of the greatest stories never told, and I mean, I could tell it myself. I got the ability and the skills, but I think this is about group economics, getting money together. So. Y'all hit me up. I mean, if I don't hear nothing, in the coming weeks, then obviously I'm gonna do it myself. Y'all already know how I do. I'm moving forward no matter what. But I think getting some money together is much more attractive, and then turning that into a movement where we got other stories coming out. Because at the end of the day, all of these can be streaming platforms. We can have as many streaming platforms as we'd like to have, and each of those streaming platforms can be very, very, very valuable. So I know I didn't said a whole lot, but I'm excited. 20 years later, and this thing is baggy on me. 20 years later. When I graduated basic training, real rap, I was 68 inches tall. This is on paper, and I was 155 pounds. And I think I was like at like a 270 something on the PT test, right? This is 2004 March. This is March 2004, right? 68 inches tall, 155 pounds, right? And this sweater fits similar to this then, but it fit better then, right? It's baggier now. I don't think I'm 155 pounds right now. I don't know. I might be like 175 pounds, maybe 180. I don't know. It depends on if I have a Wawa pretzel. I gotta leave those alone. But yeah, it's been a special journey. 20 years later, like this is the point where like really my life changed forever. Like when I went to basic training, like I went there with something to prove to myself. I wasn't even competing with the other dudes, and I didn't even really realize what I was doing. And it turned out to be something real special for Platoon Raiders. There's a story behind this sweater too. If the other guys who I went to basic training with, if they ever see this, they'll probably tell the story. Yeah, man, the platoon guide, that guy Thomas, we all voted on one design, and he gave the designer a whole nother one. He thought our design was whack. My homeboy did this design, right? And I was like, yo, man, this is hot, man. Like, we got to do this, man. And the other guys, they voted on this whack design, man. It was I don't know, man. I ain't like that. I shouldn't have done that, but I did. And so yeah, here we go, man. I think this shit is fly, man. Like till this day, I think it's fly. Four Platoon Raiders, man. And it's got all our names on the back, and it's great. This company did great quality. 20 years later, like you can still like actively like read these names on the back. And I'm back there too, Thomas. You know what I'm saying? And shout out to my homeboy who did the design. I don't even remember his name, man. 20 years later, man. The only dude I remember from basic training is is Majors. Tall dude, wore glasses. I think he probably became a commissioned officer. If you see this video, homie, hit me up, man. Last name Majors, bro. Real tall, kind of slim dude. Wore glasses, melanated brother. Real cool, smooth brother. Ain't seen him for a long time. Don't even remember your first name, brother, but I remember your last name. But yeah, man, hit me up, man. Let's have a reunion. Yeah, man, 20 years, bro. 20 years later, man, and I'm still here, man. I'm honestly, and I got to say this too, man. I'm honestly super thankful. 20 years later, I'm still here, and I did 3 combat deployments. Shout out to the families. Not even shout out, but like respect to the families who have lost people who have been in combat. We've lost a couple of people around here who I went to high school with, and people that I didn't go to high school with, and I wanna be clear. I understand. Because I've lost some friends. There's some of my people, their names are on walls and stuff, and yeah, that's hard. So shout out to those individuals who gave that sacrifice. Respect to them, respect to their families. But I'm super thankful that I'm definitely still here. I lived in Iraq for 2 years. Like that's not an exaggeration. That was my home for 2 years. I lived in Baghdad, and like it was dangerous every day. It was dangerous just to play basketball. Like real, I'm not joking. It was dangerous just to play basketball. They used to shoot over the river. I remember when I first got to Baghdad in 2005. Man, blew my mind. Like so, they're getting our trailer together because we lived in the back of the presidential palace, with the trailers back there. So they're getting our trailer together. They're clearing us with lodging and all that, and so we have to live in a tent. This is in front of the presidential palace in Baghdad, right? So we're living in this big tent, and there's a whole bunch of people in it. We got beds in it. It's a decent tent, right? But I didn't realize that the celebratory fire thing that a bunch of different people around the world did was something that was going to be happening close to that tent. So these guys are doing celebratory fire right after I get there. This is December of 2004, and I wake up the next morning, and probably like 12 inches from my bed there's a bullet lodged into the floor, right? So I had to start sleeping with my body armor on, you know, real rap. Like I slept with my body armor on, and I slept with my Kevlar helmet on. And some of the guys who I went to combat with, they'll tell you, like, I didn't play around because you never knew. Like we go out to play basketball, you had to be very aware because they shoot over the river. Our basketball court and where we ran at for like PT tests and stuff was very close to, I don't remember if it was the Tigris or the Euphrates, but one of those rivers was really close to, it was like right in the back of the presidential palace. And I used to play basketball every day, you know, and these guys would shoot over the river like they was just trying to hope to hit something. And you'd hear bullets zooming past your head, then you'd have to run near we had a concrete wall that was for like, the brace for like impact, or whatever types of bombs that may come, or if there's anybody shooting, you had that, so that that'll work on a person, so yeah, man, that. And then the missions that I went on, like I've went on so many combat missions, you know, especially the ones with like the Mongolians that I did, the missions that I did with the Japanese in Samara. I did missions with. I was embedded with the Korean military, with the ROC military for like, I don't know, a couple of weeks. Man, that was my first time. That was my first time eating kimchi and rice every single day for every meal. That was something very new. And I was literally the only melanated person. Really, honestly, I was the only in their dining facility. I was the only person who wasn't Korean in there, right? So it was different. They was kind of looking at me like, "Oh, who's this guy?" and everything. And I'm running around with a camera, but now they're watching me eat the food. And I don't think I had ever ate kimchi before, right? So it was pretty spicy, and I'm looking around for some chips. Where's the chocolate cake? Because in the dining facility they usually have that kind of stuff. So where's the spaghetti at? They didn't have none of that. So it was different. It was almost like being in Korea, being actually working there for a while. So I learned a lot in that situation. I did a lot in Basra with the so I've been embedded with just about every coalition force that's ever been to Iraq. Some of them I'm having trouble recalling exactly what their country is. The Danish military. I think I was in Basra with the Danish, and I think I did some work with the Danish, with the Koreans as well, because I did work with the Korean Navy Navy SEALs. I did work with the Korean with the Mongolian Army Special Forces and the El Salvadorian Army Special Forces. Did a whole bunch of missions with them. With the Japanese, they was doing a bunch of building, a bunch of construction. So was the Koreans, and then but the Japanese, they was heavily into drones as well, right? So I did a bunch of work on drone coverage while I was there. But these drones, they weren't like your Mavic that you can hold in your hand. Like, these drones were like the size. They were smaller than the drones that have missiles on them, but they were the size that you could like sit on it like a horse. Like, it'd be like, it's like the size of a small pony or something like that, right? But I got all these pictures. That these pictures I done posted them for some, years ago. I still have my old blog up. If y'all want to ever check out my blog, it's ferdinandthomas.blogspot.com. And these are all posts that I made in real time back then, 15 to 20 years ago. So if you ever want to check that out, I think it's ferdinandthomas.blogspot, or yeah, I think it's blogspot.com. Let me verify this so I'm telling y'all. Hold on. Yeah, it's ferdinandthomas.blogspot.com. It's Mr. T's Mesopotamian Adventures. And that main picture that's up there, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. That main picture that's up there on that blog is a picture of me in the presidential palace in Baghdad. It's right across the street from the Bath Party House. Okay. And in the presidential palace, they have that mural on the wall in one of the main rooms. And all 7 of those missiles are literally pointing to Israel. All right. So that's tablet 6. And tomorrow we're going to dive back into tablet 7. Again, 20-year anniversary. All right. Y'all be blessed. Thank y'all so much. I've got to get my daughter to school, as y'all know, and I'll talk to y'all later.